Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Omar Pineda with eXp Realty, and today we're going to be discussing VA appraisals and what the process looks like on when you go about challenging a VA appraisal. There's a few steps involved, and I think when you kind of know what's going on behind the scenes, not only does it help you stay proactive, and it makes you not feel like you're so left in the dark when it comes to these things. Today, I have brought on a very special and cool guest. His name is Luis Rentera. And here he is, guys. What's going on, Luis?
What is up, everybody? Luis here. Hope you are all having a great day. Now, my name is Luis. I know you had a little bit of trouble with that. It's Renteria or Renteria
Renteria. Renteria.
or Renteria, like Edgar Renteria, the baseball player.
Never heard
There
of
you go.
him, but there you
All
go.
right. All right.
Edgar Renteria. Okay. See,
Oh,
just by that word kind of comparison, I might remember it better because that's how my brain kind of works when it comes to names. Like, okay, Edgar Renteria, Luis Renteria. Okay.
that's right. Omar, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm here to help.
Yes, so we're gonna be talking about VA appraisal, so let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
All right, so let me bring us both on
Should
the
we do
same
some
screen
jumping
here real
jacks
quick.
first?
Some
Do
jumping
some jumping
jacks.
jacks to get the
I,
blood flowing.
yeah, I'm with you. Let me just share my screen really quick because I kind of messed it up on my side when I was trying to share your screen at the same time. Hang on, I lost my place. I want to do that. Okay, there
Are we
we
off right
go.
now? Are
Now,
we?
all right, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. I'm just gonna bring us to the right placement. Okay. All right, everybody, we're gonna do some jumping jacks to warm up. Let's get up and do it. Are you with me?
Oh, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right.
You
Ease,
can't,
at
I
ease.
can't, I can't, I can't even do it right because I have like this much space to work with. I look like like a little miniature version doing little mini jumping jacks. Okay, here we go. Let's kick things off. Key takeaways here on what we're going to try to achieve today. Learn about the Tidewater Initiative. That's the very first step when we're trying to go through this process. Learn about the reconsideration of value, ROV for short. We're going to be saying ROV a lot, so remember, reconsideration of value. So those are your first two steps to challenge a VA appraisal. And the last step, what if
Tidewater.
what if all
Oh,
that fails? What if you've gone to the first steps that all fails? We're going to be talking about what your next step is.
let's. Hey, Omar.
What's up?
Tidewater Initiative sounds so fancy and proper and
When I read that
structured. What
too,
the hell?
when I read that too, I was like, Tidewater. How and why did they come up with that name?
So yeah.
Or
Um.
if you're super curious, comment below so you can tell everybody where the name Tidewater comes from because I would love to know. I'm just too lazy to look it up. Okay, here we go. Number one of the process for VA Tidewater Initiative. Before finalizing the appraisal report, VA appraisers can notify the lender, Luis, that the home's value will likely come in below the purchase price, alerting the lender of the property falling under contract. Price is known as invoking the Tidewater Initiative, or Tidewater for short, as mentioned in that very long number, very technical. So,
Right. I love the fact that the word invoke is in there. And that's actually in the definition of the Tidewater Initiative, or they call it the Tidewater. So you don't have to say the initiative, but invoke Tidewater, which sounds so insanely complicated. And it basically means that the appraiser doesn't see the value in that purchase, so on that home that is being purchased. So he's saying, oh, timeout. That's basically what it is. It's a timeout. Buyers and sellers and listing agents and buying agents, I don't think I have the value. I need help. And that's really all it is. It's the appraiser asking for help. That is what the Tidewater Initiative really boils down to. For instance, the property got into contract at 400,000. The appraiser goes out and looks up public record and finds all the comparable sales within the last 6 months, and he comes up with $390,000. So the appraiser is going to work at finding the right comps to make it work. But if they're not there, he's just going to throw his hands up for a bit, say timeout, and invoke this Tidewater initiative.
Yeah, he's gonna probably ask, like, where did you come up with the numbers to make that offer so it makes sense to your buyer, right? Because
Yep.
sometimes they're not always looking at the same comps because they don't work hand in hand, right? It's the VA appraiser's job to work independently to figure out the numbers.
Right, right, right. And you make a really good point. Remember, the realtor is more in tune with that area. Sometimes you get out of the area appraisers and they rely on public records, public record sales. And the realtor is a whole lot more in tune and they have the MLS and they're really, they can get very surgical on the properties that have been recently sold. Another example is when, say, a property sells on Friday afternoon, it closes, it records, and the appraiser's out on Monday or Tuesday trying to get comps. Well, chances are that it's probably not going to be posted just yet on public record. It will not show. So the appraiser is going to miss it completely. And that is where the realtor, he knows when something sells in their neighborhood, oh, something just sold. This one sold for X and might be able to help.
Yes, yes. And one thing to add to that is that it's not a pending sale. It's a closed
No,
transaction where that number counts. So if it's pending, it doesn't, nobody counts that, right? Because it's till not till paper meets pen at the closing table that that number is, set in stone. Okay, so moving on to number two on the VA Tidewater process, the appraiser can't discuss details of the appraisal except to explain that the recent comparable home sales don't support the sales price. At that point, the lender has 2 days to provide the appraiser with additional comparable home sales that support the purchase price.
yes, that is absolutely correct. I love that because a lot of times as buyers we feel that the appraiser should tell us where they're going to come in or what's going on, or even as realtors, hey, where you what value are you coming up with? The appraiser's not going to say anything other than I'm not meeting the value that I need to meet this to get to the purchase contract price. So he doesn't say he doesn't say very much, only that he cannot get there and needs help, needs comparables.
That reminds me of in boot camp when we'd be on a hike, and then for back in my time, we'd say that drill instructor would be like AT&T, and then we
Reach
would
out
say
and
at
touch
the same,
somebody.
reach out and touch somebody, right? So that kind of makes me think of like, hey, the VA appraiser is like saying, hey, I need some help. Reach out and give me a hand, with
Yes.
with the comps, because they're on your side, right? They want to make sure you, as a veteran, buy a home within the realm of reason when it comes to your
Mhm.
dollar, right? So they're on your side. They're on your side, and they just want to make sure you don't overpay and that the house that you're getting in
Exactly.
the long term. So everyone's here to help you win.
They're also looking for any major like damages or structural deficiencies. And this is aside from the termite inspection. Termite inspection is a whole different video. Well, let's not even get into that. But the appraiser will also call out things. If he sees that there's a big stain on the ceiling, he's going to call, hey, I'm not a professional, I don't know much about that, I know that's not correct, that's not right. And that's all he'll do. And then the underwriter will see that and say, well, that's not normal. Let's get a roof inspection. Let's get somebody to provide more information on that damage. And all of this is to look out for the veteran, because the last thing the VA wants is for the veteran to move into their home and 6 months later they have to spend $10,000 on a roof or $15,000 on a foundation or something major. So
Yeah.
that's why all these inspections and guidelines and regulations are in place. They're to protect the veteran.
Right on. Okay, moving on. We got number three. Lenders typically turn to the buyer's real estate agent, that'd be me, for help in finding good recent comparable sales. The appraiser will take those additional comps and issue the final appraisal reports. If the Tidewater process doesn't lead to a sufficient increase in value, the appraiser must provide a written explanation as to why. Being your realtor, I am an advocate for you during the negotiation process to get you that house for what its value is, right? Nothing crazy like we have been seeing like in the past 2 years since we've been in the seller's market where you're seeing 100, 150,000 over asking. Like that probably wouldn't work with the VA loan. But right now, the market is slowly kind of, I hate saying the word shifting, but we're kind of coming back to more normal times. We're not going to see
Normalizing, yes. You
normal.
nailed it.
We're
Did you
normalizing. It's still a seller's market, but we're not going to see it as crazy as it has been in the last 2 years.
right?
And have you ever seen a written explanation as to why? That sounds very formal to me. Do you see that if the VA appraiser says, nope, I saw your comps, they still don't make sense, and this is why? Have you seen that before,
Oh, absolutely.
Luis?
So they're going to explain why they, well, first off, they're gonna explain if they saw that comp. If they did, they're gonna say the reason they're excluding it. Maybe there's a more, I should say, not newer, a more recent sale closer to the subject property. So if the comp that you give the appraiser is a mile out, but there's a more recent comparable sale half a mile away from the purchase home, then they're going to go with that one. They're going to say, nope, that one's a little farther out. We're going to stick with this one. I can't use that one. And for that reason, the value is X. And that's it.
And a good realtor will write maybe a little explanation on that comp as to why they think, it makes the most sense, right? Because you have to think about it. A VA appraiser, especially when it's a crazy market, they're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of appraisals. So they have,
Right.
and from what I've seen, we don't have enough appraisers to keep up with the demand. So they're overworked. They're under a lot of stress because they're under really strict timelines. So you being nice and giving them helping out with their job. I mean, isn't that what we all want at the end of the day? Help to everybody's kind of happy, so we kind of keep this ball rolling, and
Yes.
so it makes their job easier. So that way they can see, okay, because at the end of the day, the numbers aren't going to lie. If you're really matching apples to apples, then the VA appraiser can't argue with you. I think you have to have a good realtor at your side so they know how to find the comps and know how to and understand what the VA appraiser is looking for. So that way, if you come to the situation, you know how to overcome it. Let's
And
move
bottom
on.
line is be
Yeah, go
nice.
ahead. Be nice. Be nice. At the end of the
Be
day,
nice.
you
That's a
know,
universal rule, right? Just be nice
mhm.
to
that
everybody.
that that is the golden rule. We learned that in kindergarten, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated.
That's right.
Okay, let's move along, guys. Number four. Typically, a lender staff appraisal reviewer or SAR issues a final notice of value on the property based on the appraiser's report. The NOV makes the home value official for the VA purposes. Once the property's lower appraised value is official, buyers can seek a more formal appeal through what's known as a reconsideration of value. Before we move on to that, Luis, have you seen it taken this far?
So it's rare that it gets that far because as the again, Tidewater Initiative basically proactively handles that reconsideration of value. So as it comes in, you're already aware. You're like, okay, well, looks like there is there's no comps, so we're done. The only time I've seen the ROV, the reconsideration of value, be effective and successful is when there are like errors on the appraisal. Like the appraiser saying it's a 3 bedroom when county records is showing it's a 4 bedroom home. or square footage is off, or something very, very easy to identify.
And couldn't you sometimes maybe during like the negotiation process, I would say, have you seen this before where if there's an appraisal gap, right? Maybe on the seller side, they can issue like a credit or do something at the closing table to kind of meet the veteran kind of halfway so they don't have to maybe go this
Mhm.
far into the process. Have you seen that before?
Absolutely. It happens about half the time. If we don't get the value that we need on the purchase, then the only option we have left is to speak with the listing agent, speak with the seller and say, hey, look, we did this. This is what we did. We presented these comps and still we're not there. So we can go to that actual value of the, or what ends up happening is that they'll say, we'll meet you halfway. So if the purchase is $400,000 and the value came in at 390, why don't we meet in the middle and it's 395? So then the veteran will need to come in with that $5,000 difference.
The Tidewater process, we just covered that. Let's move on to the ROV, reconsideration of value. What the heck does that mean? So the reconsideration of value, ROV, is the formal process of appealing a low VA appraisal after the appraiser makes their determination. There's no guarantee the ROV will increase the appraisal, but it at least gives buyers a shot at a higher appraisal value and a successful VA purchase. I love how veterans kind of get maybe a few kind of, I don't know, chances or attempts to kind of see if they can kind of remedy the situation. But man,
Right.
I'm just reading this. I can see like it doesn't even need to get this far, right? If you're working with the right realtor and working with the right lender, right, to make sure that you're looking at houses that's within your budget. Because I can imagine if this is VA, anything VA related, veteran affairs related, this can be a huge window of time of all the back and forth, right? When you're trying to move to a new house, right?
It
Yeah.
is stressful. So if you're working with the best realtor and lender team, it's still stressful, but nowhere near as stressful as it would be if you're not working with the best team.
And that's working with folks that deal with the VA loan process, know how the mortgage works, and how the appraisal works. And Luis and I know both. Okay, let's kind of speed this along, guys. So number
Hashtag
one,
veterans helping veterans.
ooh, there you go, freaking hashtagging it right there. All right, number one, the first part of the process is working with your lender and real estate agent to document the following. All right, so you already got number one covered because you got Luis and I here. All you gotta do is hit us up. Okay, this is long. This is a long one, guys, but stick with me here. Comps or market data that weren't in the initial appraisal. You can submit up to 3 recent comparable home sales not included in the original appraisal. I'm gonna say that again because it's super important to kind of easily just read over. Not included in the original appraisal, okay?
Right.
Which closed before the appraisal report's effective date, right? So if you're still trying to fight this 3 months down the line, you can't pull up recent comps from that point in time. You have to go when at the I guess when the effective date when this all started.
Yes. When the appraiser pulled those original comps, that's the actual date of the appraiser.
Right, because the
I'm sorry,
market
of the appraisal.
the market can fluctuate up or down every month, especially here in Austin. Things change very quickly, can change very quickly. All right, this information needs to be inputted into a reconsideration of value grid, and you'll need to include printouts from the multiple listing service, MLS, for each of the comps. Also, write a
Correct.
brief summary of why these comps are better than the ones used by the VA appraiser. So that simply says your realtor will look for recent comps in that area following that protocol of like, hey, if this is house A right here, you're probably gonna look no more than like a mile out. You're gonna look for as close as you can to that house to find that that's within that kind of same, I guess, footprint, right? Bedrooms, bath, and all that. So you can
Right.
have you're matching apples to apples. And you brought up a good example, right? Where if maybe they didn't count a bedroom, or maybe they didn't count, maybe an upgraded feature, to justify like the value, that's what you can write. Because again, that's those are the details, like the nitty gritty that a VA appraiser probably will. It's very easy for them to miss, right? Because they're doing hundreds of VA appraisals.
Yeah, and they're using public records.
Yeah,
They're using that data, and you're using your MLS. You're more, again, the realtor is a lot more in.
where are the boots on the ground? Let's go on to evidence of errors. Have your agent scrutinize the original appraisal report. Does the report contain faulty information? Were old sales used? I know it seems kind of obvious, guys, but it does happen because people make mistakes. And again, this is like the nitty gritty of that. Unless you're very kind of detail oriented, your realtor is, then it's very easy to miss, right? Are
Yes,
all the comps similar to the subject home in size, age, and condition? You'll need both.
size.
Size is important, huh? That's probably one of the bigger
Size
ones, I
is
would imagine.
important,
Yeah.
and I have a story on that.
Ooh, okay. Let me read this last sentence. You'll need both a narrative summary outlining the perceived problems and evidence to support your claim. So we kind of just went over that. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so just what 3 months ago, we had an appraisal that came in a little bit low, and we figured all of this out at the Tidewater initiative process. So right up front. So he said, "Yeah, it's not gonna get there, and this and that." And we obviously we showed the appraiser the home, and actually we showed the appraiser the details of the home, and he did not agree with some of those numbers, and that was the square footage. So he pulled county records, and that home showed a 1,500 square foot building living area according to county records, but the home was actually 1,850 square feet of living area, and there was a living room and a dining room that was extended, and this was like 6 7 years ago. So those permits, or those permits, they didn't make it to the county record, to the clerk's office, and they weren't showing up. So we had to pull the city permits from the city permits department. We had to pull those and then send them to the appraiser. And once he noted those, he had to go back out there and remeasure. And he agreed. He goes, "Yes, it is 1,850 square feet," and we got our value. So
Oh,
those are
there you go.
those are things we need to look out for as well.
Wow. So that was a happy ending to that particular situation, huh?
He Yeah, yeah, and that was, I mean, it's nobody's fault, because, again, 2 different systems. The appraiser's going on county records, which is correct, but then the realtor, again, boots on the ground, is more in tune with what's happening and is able to, provide those additional details.
Right on. It's
A
a team
VA loan
effort. It's a team
or
effort, right?
purchase.
And at the end of the
It's a team
day,
effort,
guys,
yes.
you want your realtor, you want your mortgage lender, you want them to be have that cohesion, right? So, because there's going to be a lot of back and forth, and we're here to help make that smooth as possible, right? Because we've dealt with this, we understand the process, and we're. I mean, I know I can. I'm pretty sure you can too, Luis, because we're both former Marines here. But we know how to stay calm in the storm, right? We know how to mitigate our stress.
JJ did tie buckle.
We never forget that. You never.
Right?
If you ask me what each of them meant for, I couldn't tell you, but I'll never forget. JJ did tie buckle.
Yeah. Yep, yep,
Can
yep.
can you recite them?
Yes, it
Yeah.
takes me a little while. JJ is
Okay.
judgment,
Okay.
justice,
Okay.
discipline, initiative, determination,
Okay. Tie
tact,
buckle. Okay.
tact, integrity. Did I say integrity? Yeah, no, integrity, initiative. Uh, E is for enthusiasm, I believe.
That sounds right to me.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Did tie buckle. B. B. What
Bearing.
is B?
Bearing.
Bearing. Yes. Bearing. Okay, that's it.
Man, that's still pretty impressive. That's still pretty impressive. I would have not done got the beginning at all because I'm like, you forget what you don't use, right? But we never forget the ditties. Guys,
Right,
we're
right, right.
on number four. Okay, a letter from the borrower. The letter is a written request for the reconsideration of value with the borrower's thoughts on why their appraised value should be increased and what they think the value should be. What are your thoughts on that, Luis? I know you said that maybe that could be a hit or miss.
It is a hit or miss. It's big when you can document some like kitchen and floor remodels or backyard remodeling within the last 3 months. You say, look, Mr. Appraiser, this is why I feel that this house is worth X amount. It has a brand new kitchen. It has new flooring. It has, new pavers in the back that we spent over $30,000 on, or that $30,000 were spent on. And here's the receipts. I got them from the seller, and so on and so forth. So it doesn't hurt to do that. And it's again hit or miss. The appraiser can say, okay, yeah, I did not account for that, and make the adjustments and get us where we need to be, or at least closer.
Case in point here, document your home upgrades and keep receipts.
Yeah. Yep. This goes for sellers, especially current homeowners. Keep all your
Mm,
receipts.
that makes sense.
That way you can bust them out.
Okay,
Oh,
number five, the next step is working with your lender staff appraisal reviewer. The SAR will review the reconsideration request and, if it has merit, send the documentation to the appraiser or the appropriate VA regional loan center. That's pretty cut and dry, right?
right. The underwriter will, yeah. If the underwriter doesn't agree with the appraiser, that's the last, kind of like the last, what's it called? The last frontier,
Hmm.
or the last gatekeeper, or
Yeah, I mean, it's really like your last saved round, right? Where it's like, man, you've done and this, and you better have a really good case if you've taken it this far, right?
yeah. Well, yeah. The underwriter will review it, and if he or she doesn't agree with the appraiser's determination of value, then they'll push it back to the regional center, and try to work it out that way. But that's it. Once it hits that, then we're done.
Okay, guys, we're almost done here. All right, the final step is waiting on the VA to make a determination. If the ROV fails, you still have a few options. So I
Mhm.
guess to me that sounds like that could be everyone wants to know like what's turnaround time when you do a reconsideration of values. And from what I've seen, it depends, right? Because again, at the end of the day, you're working with the VA to kind of process all this, and we all know that the VA can take its sweet time. Hopefully, you don't have to take it this far and you figured it out at the Tidewater phase, but this is the process, guys.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of the Tidewater Initiative, is for it gives the appraiser an option to ask for help. Like, hey guys, I got a problem, and then it 9 times out of 10 we fix it there, or we address it there. It rarely goes into the whole ROV and
Okay, so that was the Tidewater process and the ROV, reconsideration of value, kind of behind the scenes process, step by step on how that works. Now we're going to get into like your options. What if the Tidewater and what if the ROV fails? Okay, so here we go.
you
Option number one is you want to ask the seller to lower their asking price. That's pretty simple. But this in this seller's market, that probably ain't happening. But if we normalize and kind of transition to more of a buyer's market, that's a viable option for you. You can point to the low valuation and suggest the seller's home isn't worth quite what they're hoping. Not all sellers will bite, but it might be an option worth exploring depending on your situation. Talk with your realtor and try to help negotiate for a lower price.
That's right. And a lot of times, the sellers, they will help out the veteran, um, and they may adjust it down to that value, or at least meet them halfway. So again, like the example I spoke about before, earlier, in this video, $400,000 purchase price, value comes in at 390. The seller says, okay, look, let's meet in the middle, 395,000. So the veteran comes in with that $5,000 difference.
And here's another way to look at it. Not every seller is looking to sell a home for top dollar. It could be maybe their
Right.
second or third home that they have. And especially if they see it's a veteran buying it, they
Yep.
want to pay their respect or, be like, hey, I want this veteran family to have a nice home, and I'm not going to let money kind of get in the way of them like from using their VA loan. Not every seller out there is trying to get top dollar, and you just never know, right? So it doesn't hurt to ask, and you want a realtor that will negotiate that for you.
That's right. My home, when I sold it to a veteran, and it wasn't for the highest price, and it just felt right. And again, hashtag veterans helping veterans.
Hashtag
Uh,
veterans helping veterans.
yeah, it just felt right. Although he was Navy, but I guess it's okay.
We'll let him slide. Even, technically we fall under the Department of the Navy, but that's okay. I like the Navy guys. Although I couldn't do the whole ship thing. I did it for a few weeks. I was over it very quickly.
The world's strongest Uber force.
I have not heard that phrase that way. I like that. Ooh, man, we're gonna get them next time we meet a Navy vet and we're in the same room. Option numero two: make up the difference in cash. Okay, buyers can pay the difference between the purchase price and the appraised value out of pocket. This
Right.
isn't always easy or without risk. Part of the consideration is, do you want to pay more than a home might be worth? If you ultimately decide to make up the difference in cash, you may be able to lower your VA funding fee if you're putting down at least 5%.
Yeah, and just like I mentioned it just a minute ago, a lot of the times the seller will meet the buyer halfway. So there's no need for, for them to make up the entire difference in cash. It's about negotiating. It's about working with the right realtors and just having a conversation. And usually, quick conversation will solve all these issues. And because remember, the seller is also in need of selling. So they may be buying their next home and need this to close. They may, I don't know, they may be moving out of state and they need to like guarantee that sale. And I mean, there's so many reasons. So it's about having a conversation with a listing agent.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And there's one thing I want to add. Option number three: walk away from the deal. With my clients, I always try to put myself in their shoes, right? If you're buying or selling a home, it is an emotional roller coaster because this is a big, big transaction for you. And it is my job to
Right.
kind of help you navigate your emotions. So if we're buying a house, do not, like, if you're buying a car, don't fall in love with the first car you see. Don't fall in love with the house because you there's always going to be another house. There's no such thing as the perfect house, and you should go into every deal like you can walk away. That way, you want to take the emotion out of it, right? And that's kind of my job to help steer you in that direction. So, because at the end of the day, if
Yeah.
this isn't a good deal and doesn't work out for you, and I want you to be happy at the end of the deal, I don't want you to have buyer's remorse. We have to walk away,
Walk away from the deal.
and we don't have to deal with all
Sounds
this crap. Just walk away. That's what I'm gonna tell
right.
you. Is walk away.
Right.
There's more houses out here.
Omar, easier said than done. Go tell that to my wife. She's like, nope,
Is
I'm in
that?
love. This is my forever home. We're doing it.
Ooh,
Oh, okay. So
that's a tough one.
again, you can walk away from the deal. I mean, there's a lot of options there, but just understand, there's a lot of emotion behind it, and if that is your forever home, then work it out. Work it out. Go back to the 50-50. Ask for, maybe there's a couple of strategies I use, like increasing the interest rate to generate a lender credit to help offset the closing costs, which then allows you to come in with less out of pocket to make up the difference for the price. So there's
Ooh.
other strategies that can be employed to make it all work. So it's not just black and white. This is where we're going, yes or no, and be done with it.
That is, I haven't heard that one yet. That's interesting. I like that one. There's so many little little tricks up your sleeves that you can do that, if you want to learn more, we could be a Zoom call away, or we can meet in person to talk more about this, because this is a topic that needs to be talked about more, and that way, the more information you have, hey, maybe now you could be that source for another veteran that may not be watching this or may not care to watch this, but now you know. Okay, so we just went over the VA Tidewater process. We went over the ROV. We went over what happens, what you could do after if that falls through. Now we're going to go over some commonly asked scenarios when it comes to all this. Number one, when you go through the ROV process, will the VA provide something in writing stating the request was denied? My client lost out on a house because of their appraisal, and I have no way to prove that the lender did the ROV. They said they have nothing to provide to us except the original appraisal report. What are your thoughts?
And that is false, because the appraiser will need to um, place an addendum on the appraisal. So there will be something in writing. Hey, it'll say something like, "Oh yes, comps or the comparables 1, 2, and 3 that you send are not acceptable for XYZ reasons." So it will be documented. It has to be documented.
That makes sense. You got that. You need your checks and balances. That's part of like his job. So that's part of the process, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's another one for you. Trust but confirm, or what is it? Trust but verify. Yeah, that's what it is.
There you go.
Trust but verify.
I like that one. I remember I heard that first from you when we first met all that time ago. Trust but verify. Okay, here's a long one, guys, but stick with me here. We listed our home for sale and hired an independent appraiser to give us the value. The appraisal came in at 342, so we listed at 350. Recently, we got the house under contract at 342. The buyers are going VA, so they hired a VA appraiser. His appraisal came in at 306. As you can see, the two appraisals are not even close. Any advice?
What date was the first appraisal completed, and what date was the second appraisal completed, and what sales occurred during that time? Because if there was a recent sale that came in a lot lower, and a lot of times this happens when a family member sells it to another family member, it'll be a little bit lower, and that brings everything down and causes this sort of discrepancy. So to answer the question is, yeah, the advice is to review both appraisals and um, and and verify the dates.
That would be on the lender or the lender communicating with the VA appraiser to review everything. Who's that with?
That would be again a team effort. That would be
Effort.
everybody, right?
Everybody.
Realtor, listing agent, buyer's agent. Everybody kind of comes together and they discuss this. Look, I just got it. I just got it appraised. It came in at 350 and now you're at 306. That's way off. Mr. Appraiser, what's going on? Look, these are the comps I have. And the appraiser, the VA appraiser may say, look, well, that one is, 3 miles away. I can't use it. And that was 6 months ago. I have another comp that is a quarter of a mile away and it just closed last week. Boom, done.
Now we're going to do some frequently asked questions that I saw when I was kind of doing my research going through the internet. What are the guidelines for comps on a VA appraisal with regards to distance the comps are from a new purchase?
What I typically see in this case is a half a mile away and 6 months, no later than 6 months. But if there are no comps within that half mile radius, then you have to go out. I mean, I've seen some appraisers go out, 8 miles. Especially if it's a rural area, they'll go out farther, and they'll go a year out. So it all depends on the situation, on the actual property.
I'm glad you mentioned the rural areas, right? So if you're living in a big city, we're here in Austin. We came from California, so where there's so many people, so there's a lot of housing activity, a lot of transactions. So there's going to be a lot of recent comparables. So, and, I would you would think that it'd be easy for the VA appraiser to find recent comparables. But
Mhm.
if you live in the middle of nowhere, and I know us veterans kind of like to kind of be off grid and find a cabin in the woods, that's going to be hard as to find comparables to kind of if you're going with the VA loan. So you have to you'll go 5, 10, 15 miles out just to find something because people, if you're in that kind of area, like their space.
Flexible and all pretty much all over the place.
Yep. So easy answer is it depends on your specific area. It really does.
Yes.
Okay, number two. It seems that the VA appraisers appraise homes differently than non-VA appraisers. Is there any truth to that?
I don't feel that is accurate. I know there's a myth out there. Oh, it's a VA appraisal. It's going to come in lower, but I disagree. I've seen everything. I've seen some conventional regular appraisals come in like horribly low and just bad comps and just bad comparables. So it all depends on the appraiser. They're human. They make mistakes as well. They're not perfect, and we just have to understand that and provide all the information. Again, VA has that protection, that fancy invoke Tidewater Initiative process. So that's what it's there for, to address these kind of issues.
And we were kind of talking about this offline, but at the end of the day, if it's a VA appraiser or an appraiser for conventional loan, FHA, they're there not to make sure the deal goes south and doesn't close, but they're to do their job to appraise the home at what the market value is based off the recent comparables of homes sold, right? And
Right.
they work independent of the realtor and the lender. That way, so there's no influence, but the realtor can help out the appraiser and give them recent comps, and if the comps are correct, he'll use them. He or she, the appraiser will use them, right? And you're making his life easier. So that way you guys are seeing the same things. And if your realtor doesn't go that extra mile to do that, and now the appraiser's going to try to find, comparables on his own, you may not be looking at the same thing. And then that's where all this kind of confusion and the numbers don't make sense. And that's what all this, that's what makes this process stressful, right? So
Preparation is key.
perception wise, I could see why VA appraisers have a bad rep. But now you know that they're no different from any other appraiser, especially because they're there to make sure that you don't overpay or like the value of the home that you're buying or the home that you're selling, because the seller can make up whatever number he wants. Truly, it's
Hmm.
up to them. They can make
That's
up
right.
whatever number they want. And it's the appraiser's job to make sure, like, hey, this is what you want it to be, and this is what it really is. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. So, how long is a VA appraisal good for?
Actually, that is a great question. There is a required update of value. I think it's at either 90 days or 120 days. So it's good for 180 days. The appraisal is good for 180 days. However, after 3 months, I'm going to say after 3 months, we will need to get updated comps to make sure that the value is still there.
That makes sense. And I would even imagine, especially for if you're in Austin, because of the way the market's going, and 3 months is like that's actually 6 months is a long time because the market 6 months ago is nowhere what it is today,
Oh, yeah.
right? So, I mean, I've even spoken to other realtors and they're looking at like 30 days back, right? Because 3 months ago, and that's not that far ago, the market's completely changed. It's completely, however you want to phrase it, shifted. It's normalized. It's normalized, right?
Normalized. Yeah,
Normalizing.
no more 20% over asking. Now it's normal. So you can either say it's a 20% drop in the real estate market, or you remove that over price of 20%. the overbid of 20%.
Hmm.
So we're back to normal,
Okay, we
which
have a
is
few more.
great.
Yeah.
This is great because it gives the VA, especially veterans and first-time homebuyers, it gives them an opportunity to purchase. I tried to help other first-time homebuyers and veterans, and we were up against 40 offers, and a lot of them were cash and 150, $200,000 over asking, and there's absolutely no way. There's no way. So now I'm seeing that first-time home buyers and veterans using their VA home loan benefit are really getting into homes. They're standing a chance. And I know there's a concern about the higher interest rate, which is in a way great because you can always refinance. So there's this whole saying right now, and it happened in 2008 as well. Don't marry, what is it? Marry the home, date the interest rate, or date the loan. So marry the home, date the loan. No, yeah,
It's state the rate.
something like that.
State the rate.
Date the rate. Yeah,
Marry the,
date the
marry
rate.
the house, state the rate. I heard that the other day.
That one,
Which
which I
all that's happening is
easy.
based on your perception, right? Because yes, the interest rate's going up, but that is making less competition for you as a buyer,
Yeah,
right? The only reason why it was so crazy was
that's
because
right.
interest rates were low, so the money was cheap to borrow. People who had equity in their home, since their house had appreciated like crazy, they were able to buy maybe their secondary or maybe their third home, right? Because they were able to pull out that equity,
Right.
and that's how you got to see these, higher than normal offers. So now that interest rates gone up, it's gonna be now it's a window for you. Because if you're a buyer, you don't want to buy in a seller's market because you're gonna have a lot of competition, plain and simple, right? Now that things are
Correct.
normalizing, you're gonna have better chances. So you're not going to be, I mean, I think we'll still be in a multiple offers situation, but you're not going to be going up against 20, 30 offers. Maybe you go up one or two offers. It's not going to
That's
be
right.
crazy like that anymore.
And that's a fighting chance.
That's a
All we
fighting
need is a
chance.
fighting chance. When you have 30, 40 offers, I had one that had 82 offers. Like, okay, there's absolutely no way. We're done. But yeah, one or two offers, you stand a fighting chance to get in. And again, the rate, you can all again, I want to
Refinance.
say you can always refinance. Now, there's some other strategies that I've seen which I mean they work for the seller where they will give you they'll sell the house to you and they'll offer a $20,000 lender or seller credit so that you can buy down the rate and bring down the payment. Well, that is good for the seller because then they are going to still get more. They're going to net more at the end of the transaction and the buyer is going to pay more for the home. It's better to go the other way around. Just get the lower price, even if the rate is higher. Yeah, I actually have a video on this, and I can share that with you, so you can share with your audience.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, we'll tag it down below so you guys can have, a quick little view of that. Okay, we're wrapping things up,
Mhm.
guys. We're almost coming at about an hour. So we're gonna wrap this up really quickly. So I think these are the last three questions, okay? How long does a reconsideration of value take? We kind of alluded to that. It depends because you're dealing with the VA. All right, moving on. Number five, what do VA appraisers look for when refinancing? That's a good one. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, very similar to the purchase. They're looking for the recent comp sales, and
Okay.
then they are also looking or I shouldn't say they're looking for it, but this is an opportunity for the homeowner to provide again those receipts of upgrades and remodeling and anything you've invested into the property to increase its value. So that's where you present those.
Yeah, and I would imagine like typically if you're in a very good area where homes appreciate every year. If you're refinancing 5 years later, that means your home value went up. So now you have some equity in the house, and that's what the whole refinancing is for. It's like, okay, what's the most recent value of your home so we can do the refinancing? Okay, this is the last question, and then we're gonna wrap things up, guys. I'm getting nowhere with my current VA appraiser. What can I do? Well, I mean, man,
Be nice.
if you've gone this far, I mean, that's you could scan this QR code and that'll take you right to the page to speak to the construction and values department, but that's taking it. And that's the last. That's the last kind of chance, guys. I mean, hopefully it never gets that far. But there, I put that on the screen so you can have that as easy access to scan that QR code. It'll take you right to the VA page where you can have those list of numbers to call. But hopefully you were working with a team like Luis and I, where we took care of it during the Tidewater process, even if it even got that far.
As lenders, we cannot have any contact with the appraiser. However, I can neither say that the realtor can or cannot have contact with the appraiser and discuss these matters. Now, the appraiser is going to reach out to the realtor to set up and schedule an appointment. So they're going to have that appraiser's number. And I mean, I'm not saying that realtor should or should not contact the appraiser, but there's an option.
And at the end of the day, guys, when you're working with a realtor or a mortgage lender, it's okay for you to ask, like, hey, do you work with veterans? Have you worked with VA loans? Right? Because I know typically we want to work with our friends and families who are realtors, but they may not necessarily know how the VA loan process works. And that's why
Right.
you kind of get into this kind of, you get into these hiccups, right? Because they don't understand the process and you want to work with someone who does this day in day out. Luis and I
Right.
specialize working with veterans. We're former Marines ourselves, and we've been through this process, and we're here to help you.
That's right. And keep in mind, a lot of realtors will steer the veterans away from the VA loan and put them into a conventional, even an FHA loan. So that's in my opinion, that is very sad because the VA home loan is the best loan benefit out there. I mean, it's the best home loan out there. It doesn't compete with jumbo. It doesn't compete with conventional, with any of that. It's the best. It's 100% financing, no MI, no loan limits as long as you qualify for it. But it does take a little bit more work up front. But with the right team, it's it's no big deal. All of that work is done up front. That way, once you start shopping, it's easy, and we're able to close these loans in as little as 21 days. And it's not that we do anything magical. We just do a lot of the work up front. So expect a lot of work up front during the pre-approval process. Get the your DD 214 ready. Get your certificate of eligibility ready, and all your income docs, run credit. Everything needs to be done up front, and it needs to be submitted to an underwriter. Get a full certified approval. It's going to take about maybe 10 days to 14 days. But now, all those 14 days that you've already worked on this loan, you don't have to do them while you're in contract. So instead of closing in 45 days, you're going to close in 21 days or 25 days. So it makes the process a lot smoother. So do the work up front and really hurry up and wait. That's we're familiar with that motto.
Okay, guys, we thank you for tuning in. Again, my name is Omar Pineda with eXp Realty. If you like these webinars, Luis and we're going to put our heads together and see what kind of more topics we'll do in the future, talking more about the VA loan process from the realtor perspective and then from his perspective. So stay tuned and follow us. I'll have Luis's information down below because he puts on a lot of video content like this too to educate his audience and kind of give like a little behind the scenes of what's going on in his life. Okay, guys. Luis, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And I can't wait to the next one.
No, Omar, thank you for having me. And I'm very grateful to be able to provide all of this information to your audience.
All right, guys. Peace. Catch you on the next one.